Hey guys. So I wanted to talk to you about karma and how it plays out in our life. So the way I see karma is that it is something that we come into this life to learn. So there might be several karmic lessons that we have in this lifetime. Now, sometimes we can look back in our childhood and see something that happened in our childhood to develop these patterns. So that can happen, and other times it's from a past life. But we do plan our childhood. So we plan our parents, we plan how it's going to be. And so we have this plan to learn these lessons. And so karma is these repeated patterns that come into our life to set up our lessons, things that we need to learn about who we really are, about our soul and what love is. Okay, so I'll give you some examples of this so you can see how this actually works. So I could give some examples for myself. So for a while, I felt the need to really save people. So save people to the extent of I have to give up everything. I have to make sure that nobody else suffers, nobody else has any pain. And so I will take on pain and I will save them. So I will give up everything and save this person. So what happened was that I had these repeated patterns where I would be placed into that position of people like asking me for help, like to the extent of give up everything. I really expect that of you. And so I had to learn to not do that, to understand that no, I matter too. I'm not going to give up everything to help this person, but I'm also going to serve. I'm going to serve this person, but I can only do what I can do. Because at that point, I felt like I had to do something that I couldn't even do. It was kind of like I felt this helpless, kind of like I can't save this person. I don't have the tools. I don't have the knowledge. Like, I think like a specific example. I had a lot of like, like even like somebody would ask like, I don't know what to do medically. And I'd be like, I don't either, but I would feel that whole like I need to have that information. I need to know how. So I had to really work on that and get to that place of just feeling like it's okay, I I can only serve to the extent that I can, and it's not my responsibility to save this person because some of these people had to learn their own lessons and I couldn't save them. So that's an example. I had a lot of patterns in my life of male figures trying to tell me that I was wrong, trying to tell me, no, that's wrong. Let me tell you what to think. Let me tell you what is correct. Making me feel very small, making me feel like I didn't know things, and real self-doubt. I've had some kind of powerful female figures that had like a male presence, and this was made known to me, and so I had to do a whole lot of healing about that. And what happened, what I understand is that it stemmed from my father. So it originated with my father, and then these other male figures or female presences that had like male kind of power, authority, energy trying to tell me that, you're wrong, there's only one way. And so I had to do a lot of healing about that. Somebody else I know was having a pattern of getting into jobs that would make them feel like they had to overwork themselves, like to the extent of other people are not working, and that's okay. But it's expected that you work. It's expected that you work overtime, that you put in way more energy than anybody else. And so they had to work. So one last example, recently my mom has had a lot of medical issues, a lot of health concerns. And I see this pattern with her. And she needs to learn to stand up for herself and make decisions for herself instead of having other people make that decision for her, such as doctors, but not even doctors, family members, not me. I don't tell my mom what to do. I may suggest something, but I always give her the right to make her own decisions, but some other family members like, no, you must do this, and I know what's best. So, and I see that she keeps continuing to have these health problems because she needs to learn this lesson, and she's gonna keep having the health problems till she learns the lesson. She didn't have to have all these health problems. Okay, so we continue to have problems. If you have problems, repeated problems, it's because you need to learn something. Actually, and now I can think of some other examples. I had a whole bunch of computer problems over and over and over until I had to learn to let go of materialism. I was learning not to grow attached to technology. And so it was failing on me until I learned that my happiness is not determined by, technology, not by the internet. My sister was having a whole bunch of car trouble. And she had a lesson about like maybe independence or something. She eventually stopped having car problems, but she was having repeated over and over and over and over car problems. So if you have like a repeated pattern of problems, it's because you need to learn a lesson. There's some kind of lesson there. So how do you determine what your karmic lessons are? Okay, so you can sit down. I've done this. You sit down and you write out your triggers. What triggers me? What makes me feel very emotional? Okay, so that could be I get really highly emotional when I have car problems. But this is the tricky part. So it may not just be like car problems. It's the same feeling. Okay, so it may be different events, but it's the same feeling. So for me, right, with like the male figures, every time like a male kind of presence would say, no, you're wrong, that would bring up a certain feeling. It was the same feeling over and over and over. So it may not be exactly the same exact problem. Trying to think of a really good example for that, but I can't really think, but off the top of my head. But let's say that, well, I guess I could use, like males came into my life, but then a female came into my life and, was that authority, but still the same feeling, right? Males, females. So it may shift, it may change. Let's say that my mom stopped having like medical problems, it may present itself in a different way. So let's say now somebody wants to tell her about money. Okay, maybe she has a money problem then, and then somebody wants to tell her, take away her power and tell her what to do with money. So you see how it might actually stop being like a same kind of problem, but it brings up the same thing, the same lesson. So it's like the problem in a different way. So that could happen too, but it's the same lesson. So, but really, you will know this by the same feeling. So you write down your triggers, okay? And that brings up like feelings. So you can say like, when anybody ever yells at me, I get this feeling. And then you can ask yourself, okay, so this feeling comes up. You can remember what that feeling is like. Is there any other kind of trigger that brings up that same feeling? So maybe like when people yell at you, you have that feeling. But then when you hear loud noises, you have that same feeling too. Okay. And so that can give you some insight there. And then you want to ask yourself, when was the first time I felt this feeling? Because where it originated. Now it gets tricky, right? It could be a past life. That's possible. I know for myself, I had some karmic kind of stuff that made a whole lot of sense when I had my aura hypnosis session, and then learned actually saving my mom. Right, I talked about the whole saving thing. It was really my mom most of the time, but other people too. It had to do with a past life, and I couldn't save my mom in that past life. My mom was in my past life as my mom in that lifetime too, and I could not save her. She died. So continued that, and so I did need to fully heal that. I did need to have that experience of the past life. And so that's why there's a lot of healing. There's another example too. I had my QHHT hypnosis, and I was like a soldier in the war, in this really horrible war. I mean, like, people were just dying and being slaughtered. I was a male soldier, and I was just like, life, it sucks. This is horrible. Everybody dies, and just basically gave up and allowed myself to die. And so what the practitioner actually had me do was to take my dead body in this past life and to heal it, to heal the wound, and to then heal that. And so after I did that, I was having a lot, and this is another example of karma, okay, because I was having a lot of sensations in my heart, a lot of sadness in my heart. And once I did this, I healed that. And so it was not having that sadness in the heart, because the sadness in the heart was, I see all this suffering in others. I have to take on their suffering because life sucks. Life is horrible. I was carrying that, right? Because I saw so much devastation in that lifetime. I was then seeing that here and now in this lifetime. So healing that wound was really powerful, because it was like healing that karma that I was carrying. So it can stem from past lives, but things can originate in this lifetime too, or you can kind of see an origin in this lifetime a lot of times, most of the time. So like with my dad, there's a lot of self-esteem issues that I got from my childhood, and so I could find the origin of that. So if you can find the origin, that is really good. A lot of times you can. When was the first time I felt this? Okay, and actually, even if you're really good, like at meditation and your third eye is open, you can actually, if you ask that question, open yourself up, receive that, when did I first feel this? And you might get some answers about your past life that may come to you, right? So asking where you first felt that. And then once you get to that, you want to, this is just what I did. I mean, there's many ways you can do this to heal this, but for one instance, I recognized that I had this like karma pattern, this feeling that kept popping up, a feeling like I do all this work. I do all this work and I can't have fun. I'm never going to have fun. I just keep working, and I don't get anywhere. Okay. So that feeling, I went back to my childhood, discovered that, hey, you know, I felt like my parents never allowed me to play. Even when they did allow me to play, it was like, no, you're going to do this instead. I'm going to decide for you to do this activity. And so it wasn't fun. Okay, so what I did was I felt that. I remembered that memory of what that was like, felt that feeling, allowed myself to feel that fully, and then I imagined myself changing my history. I changed the history and took my parents. Okay, this is with love. You don't put blame on your parents. You don't like say, oh, you're at fault, right? With love, understanding that they have their lessons too, right? They just are doing the best they can and they didn't know. Bringing up my parents and I'm imagining playing Candyland. And there's something really symbolic about that, right? There's no tactician logic really to Candyland. It's just a bunch of play, right? It's random, right? You just pull cards and then you move. So that just naturally came to me. So if you put yourself in your heart space, this is going to like naturally come to you on how to heal this. So brought in my parents, just, you know, we all played Candyland together. And this, I bawled and bawled over this, okay? But this is so releasing and so healing, okay? And also I brought in my child self, and imagine my child self and talking to my child self and saying, I'm here for you. I'm going to play Candyland with you too. Okay? So you as the adult talking to your child self, maybe giving it a hug, telling, no, you deserve to play Candyland. Let's play Candyland. Look, your parents are there. Let's play Candyland. Okay, so this is very, very healing. And then to make this even more powerful, you want to go into your heart space and you want to then imagine something that might trigger this, but then something different happening. Okay, and building like this feeling or different, or not even being triggered. It's like an event where you could be triggered, or trigger could happen, like being yelled at, but then you don't get yelled at. And then you feel that feeling and really imagine what it would be like. So instead of being yelled at and feeling shamed, feeling maybe courageous or feeling empowered, feeling at peace or whatever. So building that feeling, imagining what that would be like. And still some events may happen. There are times where, triggers still would happen, and then you have to react in a different way. What I start to notice, and I think, I don't want to brag or anything, but I've been really, really working on my karma. I think I'm about there of overcoming it. Every time I think I'm done, though, there's something else. But anyways, so yeah, don't be surprised if you have to keep working on yourself. But this really does bring change in your life. I mean, change as in like things that were problems will just go away. They just won't happen anymore. And what you'll notice is that things that used to happen will just stop. People will treat you differently. you will feel different about yourself. You will be surprised. Too, like something might happen. You're like, man, I used to feel a certain way about things like this, and it's no big deal now. And once something like that happens, then you'll recognize that this stops just even happening. Like any trigger at all just stops. Your life gets easier. So it takes work and it takes a lot of courage to do this. It takes a lot of actually going into that space of really feeling these feelings, but it works. So I hope this helped, and I wish you the best in doing this. My heart goes out to you, and um, yeah, this is something we need to do. We really need to work on our karma. Really need to be aware of what our karma is. So I think a lot of people don't even recognize. They're just like, oh, I just keep having problems. Not why they're having problems, or really having that insight about the problems, that they're here for a reason. They're here to actually serve us so that we can learn these lessons and we can move on. Because if we just keep reacting in the same way without awareness, we're just going to keep repeating and repeating them. And for us to move into the new earth, for us to move and ascend, we need to overcome these karmic lessons. If you watch or read Dolores Cannon, she talks a lot about the karma and how we need to overcome the karma. So, all right. Well, much love to you all.